Shan, Ricard, I really respect you both as players. So, I take no pleasure in saying this. But you wasted that extra vote harder than flippin' Dan did in Worlds Apart. What the heck was that? How's it going? I am the Survivor Dude. Welcome to another episode of Talking About Survivor. This episode is called Who's Who in the Zoo, and it is, boy, a lot of stuff happened in this episode. We lost two of our big characters, gone from the show. Both Naseer and Evie have been voted off. Naseer with an idol in his pocket. You hate to see that, but it happened. I was pissed off, and I'm just going to get into it. First of all, I want to say from the bat, Shan was right. Everything she was saying was correct. Mostly because Shan does not have an alliance relationship with Erica or Heather. In fact, Heather, last episode, she just said, hey everybody, let's vote Heather. And so that is an unwinnable, unmendable fence when you just announce to everybody that you're wanting to vote that person off. So, there is no good reason for keeping those two there. Sure, Naseer has an idol, but it's still early enough in the game. You can still get to the point where you can split the votes, probably next vote even, if you really wanted to get them out. At this point, it makes absolutely no sense to go after Naseer, especially for Shan. Look, it might make sense for Ricard if he then picks up Erica and Heather and then does something with them down the line. Fair enough. I could see that possibly working for Ricard. But why use the extra vote? There is literally no reason to use the extra vote here. You have 5 people, which means either Ricard and Shan and Naseer are voting off Heather, bada bang, boom, you got the number. Or Ricard and Naseer, or Ricard and Shan are going with Erica and Heather to vote off Naseer. 4-1. There's no reason. And even if Naseer plays his idol, he's voting for Heather. What on earth possessed you to use the extra vote here? I mean, this to me feels like you have an advantage burning a hole in your pocket and you just gotta use it. This is what you voted off JD for? This was worthless. This was pointless. This was absolutely ludicrous. Ricard, will you keep on telling yourself, I'm a master strategist? Well, count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You don't need an extra vote. I was flabbergasted at this. And he's like, it doesn't make sense to get rid of Heather. She's going to be taking one of your spots at the end. I just hope we get down to the final and Ricard would have made it to the end, but oops, there's Heather. And when it comes to either voting out Heather or voting off Ricard, we're going to vote off Heather. Because that's what I would do. If I had a choice between either taking Heather or Ricard to the end, I'm taking Heather. You want to get these goats out, especially if you're a major player like Shan, because then if you're a major player like Shan, then you want to get those players out, because if you do, you have an extra step to get to the end, because it's going to get harder and harder to get votes on Heather down the road. The longer you go, the harder it's going to get to vote her out, because there's always going to be more and more threatening people. You don't think that this civil war between Deshawn and Shan is going to blow up at some point? Oh, it will. It definitely will. I will say this. Deshawn, on the other hand, I like that what he was trying to do. He's trying to branch out to his alliances a little bit more. He's trying to get a little bit more. But then, here's the thing. I want to, we've been crapping on Jeff and Survivor for all these weird twists and stuff they do. I want to applaud them this time. I like what they did tonight. Because this split forced the game to be put into interesting positions that allowed other people, especially since they didn't go back to the same camp, it allowed people to freelance a little bit more and have plausible deniability to go back to camp being like, what? I didn't know you wanted to keep that person around. I thought we all agreed it was this one. And so, you know what? It allowed them to have room to maneuver and room to play, and I like this. I like this a lot. And you know what? There was no weird time travel that forced this. There was no weird, smash the clock and the crocodile will come and change the. I don't know. You know, it didn't. You didn't have to have any stupid thing like that. I like that it was just 5 people on this side, 5 people on this side, both going to tribal council, both voting one person out, one person safe on each side. When it keeps the numbers small like this, it keeps people in a forced mode of scrambling. Everyone's always scrambling. You know, I will say what's funny, has Danny and Deshaun been separated this entire game? I feel, except for the first episode where Danny went to Shipwheel Island, I feel like there's been no separation between either one of them. They've just been lockstep in the game. Now, Xander was an interesting position this episode because he chose to either play his idol on Evie to play, because he thought that there could be something up. I think that he thought, well, it's not the end of the world. Basically, I got to keep my idol for myself. Get myself farther one more day. That's all I got to do. And, yeah, fair enough. At that point, that's really all you gotta do. But I also like that this keeps the number small because it keeps people not wanting to use the shot in the dark, but have that regret after, like, oh man, I should have just used my shot in the dark. Of course they weren't going to work with me. That's why my MVP of the episode is going to be going to Deshaun, 100%. Because for Deshaun, he was able to convince Evie that they were solid enough that she didn't use her shot in the dark. But also, I felt like she felt like very confident, which was interesting. I mean, I think the fact that he approached her before this all shook up was, a good sign. But I looking back at it after I thought about it for a little bit, this was an interesting episode because it required both Shan and Deshaun to sacrifice one of their pawns for the cause of the Black Alliance. Because Nasir was loyal to Shan and Ricard. Nasir was like, I'm all in with these guys. These are my closest allies. We never saw them develop that relationship, but still, that's what he said. These are my closest allies. And I feel like in order to keep the illusion that they're still working with the All-Black Alliance, well, maybe it's not an illusion, maybe it's just reality, they sacrificed Nasir. And Deshaun, in order to keep the Black Alliance together, didn't vote for Liana, but he convinced Evie that they weren't going to vote with her and voted her off. So both of them sacrificed possible pawns to their game in order to move the big alliance forward. Now this is interesting because now we've gone from 10 people to 8 people, which means the Black Alliance technically has at least half the numbers to carry the day. Because on one side we have Deshaun, Danny, Liana, and Shan, and on the other side we have both Xander, we have Heather, Erica, and wait, I'm missing one. Oh, and Ricard. Sorry, I forgot about Ricard for a second. I don't know why. So yeah, I guess that really puts Heather, Erica, and Xander on the bottom of this alliance. Because it's just interesting to see because I feel like, I said before that this Black Alliance isn't going to be going to the Final Four together. They might not have a choice after this. Think about it. It's 4-4 now. They can't afford to turn on each other. They both sacrifice pawns. They have nobody else left. Now, don't get me wrong. I still don't think they're going to the Final Four with each other. I think they might be going to the Final Six with each other. That's what I think could happen. I very well think that it could be a Final Six of... Well, I would say the Final Six would be the 4 black players, Ricard, and at this point, Heather. Yeah, Heather would be the last remaining player because, let's be honest, she's a go-to at the end. And that will cause things to shake up rapidly after that. Now, I wonder if those guys want to target Ricard soon. But here's the thing. The problem is, right now, the only idols in the game in that alliance is Shan. So you gotta target her sometime sooner before the Final 5. It's gonna be hard. Or you just wait to the Final 4 and you put her in fire making. I don't know. It's just like my predictions for the next vote. I think that the the 4 black players, they're sticking together. I thought that there was going to be a civil war last time. I put up the drawings of everything. They're sticking together. They both sacrifice pawns. Their options are limited. They have to stick together now, and that's enough to bring it to a tie. But with Ricard on Shan's side, that will probably bring the numbers to over than a tie. Although, Ricard might be put to the test, be like, maybe we should sacrifice one of these players before I'm just picked off with the rest of the other non-black players. So, I don't know, when it comes to 4 and 4, if it got to be 4 and 4 of Xander, Ricard, Erica, and Heather versus Liana, Danny, Deshawn, and Shan, if that was the case, who's going home? I don't know. That Black Alliance has been very dismantled. It's just interesting because with the way it turned out, like they were saying, I was like, yeah, we should rebel against the major alliance, but then it's just like, and then they're like, oh, now we can't. We don't have the numbers anymore. Okay, let's go into predictions. Who's on the chopping block? Well, I believe that it's going to... I think Xander's going to play his idol next travel. I do. I think with it being 4-4, he's going to want to try to either play it on himself or try to sway the numbers in some way, shape, or form. Because if those 3 can get it to, I guess 7, they would still be in the minority. But if they could get Ricard over, that could shift the power of the game. Now, I don't know if he's willing to do that. I feel like Ricard might feel like the bottom of that alliance. But I feel like Ricard has kept his options open here. It's going to be interesting to just see where it all turns out. So I'm going to say Erica is going to be the one that's going to get targeted next. I would love to say Heather, but I feel like she's just not a target, and they're probably going to want to put the votes on. Although they could put the votes on Heather if they feel like Xander's going to play his up. But I don't feel like Xander and Erica has had one scene together, so I don't feel like that's really much of a threat. Unless they're like, we're on the bottom, we got to work together. By the way, it's just comical now how much Liana hates Xander. She's just like, I hate his face. I just hate it. I hate it. It's funny. And I was worried for Liana a lot. I thought that they possibly could have voted for her. Just because if they did, I feel like it was the safest move to keep, Deshawn and Danny safe. It would have been the safest move. But, I mean, they took a risk. They took a risk that Xander wasn't going to play his idol. And he didn't. He kept himself safe. I wonder what's going to happen next. Obviously, we won't know until next time. It's just going to be an interesting race to the finish for this season. Because I feel like... Alright, you know what? I'm making a prediction for the final 3. Final 3 prediction. My final 3 prediction for the game. Shan, Liana, Ricard. That's it. That's my prediction for the final 3 for this game. I think Shan is going to use Ricard and Liana. And we were worried that their clashing heads of Ricard and Shan were going to go at each other. I think they might still clash a little bit, but I think maybe Shan will win an immunity to keep herself safe, or I don't know. But that's my final 3 that I'm picking. I think that they got to stick together, the Black Alliance, for a while. But then once against a 5... Shan has the numbers over with Ricard and will probably flip it on them if they can go that far. I don't know if that's the way it's going to go down, but that's my prediction for the final 3. So let's see if I can get any of those 3 right. So yeah, that's all I have to say. R.I.P. Evie. There really wasn't much you could do here. The only real thing you could do was get Xander convince Xander to play his idol on you. And I don't think he was ever going to do that. I really think that, unless you made like a fake idol and try to get him out, but I think at that point they just got to vote for you and roll with the dice at that point. His numbers are too small. There's not enough to do about it. So yeah, like what you did with the episode Survivor. Really like that. Shan, Ricard, your flipping extra vote was wasted. What a waste. Shame on you. I do MVPs. I don't do anti-MVPs or like who played the worst. But that was just dumb. I would say that was a wasted move. Yeah, but Shan's still my winner pick. I mean, not every winner has to have a completely perfect game. I'm just saying I would have rather... you probably should have rather kept JD in the game if this is what you were getting wasted on. Anyways, That's all I have to say. Let's see. I did predictions. I did MVP. Is Deshaun. Yeah. So that's all I have to say. Bye, everybody. See you next time.